are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Messalina, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As you know, I myself, Dr. Messalina, will be your host in this radio program. As you know, I'm your surgeon serving the people of Sint Maarten as a specialist in the Sint Maarten Medical Center since 1999. And since the 10th of October 2021, I'm the political leader of the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, that will contest the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten. And actually, we're hoping that the elections will be earlier than later, especially considering the situation that our country is at this particular moment. But let's hope for the best, and hopefully God knows when this election will be the best for our country. As you know, the URSM stands for putting the people and the country above self and believes in educating and informing the people of this country. Actually, we also strongly believe that there should be a sound balance between economic growth and the welfare status of our society. We are presenting on a weekly basis every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. a radio program in which the current topics, community developments and issues, and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. As you know, it's very common for our program to have a special invitee in our radio program. And we really believe that we should invite personalities or persons that have made a difference in our community, that have a respectable professional track record, and really people that I believe personally that made a difference in their contribution to country Sint Maarten. And for that reason, I decided today to invite a person that is quite known already in our community in the name of Gracita Arrindell. Gracita, for me it's a big honor and a big pleasure to have you in my radio program URSM, You Are Sint Maarten. I want to welcome you, Gracita. Good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Luc Messalina. Thank you for inviting me. I want to state that it is a pleasure always to have the opportunity to address the people of Sint Maarten, and together with my host, whoever that host is, in this case it's you, so I'm very happy with that. It's a new year. I'm very grateful that we have lived past an old year, 2022. 2022, it's good to just take back for a few seconds, a few minutes. 2022 has been a very challenging year for a lot of people in Sint Maarten, but also outside, in fact, for the rest of the world. Very challenging. Many people lost the mourn of their loved ones, whether it is through war, through sickness, through accidents. In my case...
and yourself, with your personal experience recently, very sad. You lost your brother, very beloved person in our community.
Yes, I did. We did. I need to speak on behalf of my brothers and sisters, but also the young sons that my brother left behind. He has a name, Germito.
Yes.
Yes, it was a very traumatizing experience for me. So little by little, with the support of yourself and other persons, you get that strength back to continue to live.
Of course.
For the better, because we need to do things positive for the next generation.
To come. Gracita, I invited you and driving to come to our radio station here from Radio Mix 94.7. I said in the car, you're a very known person. But although that, St. Maarten is very dynamic in change of people that come and go. Correct. And I think it's important for people that don't know you, I can imagine that, but it's still possible, for you just to use a short, brief biography yours, just to introduce yourself to the people, to the listeners. Who is this Gracita Arrindell?
Thank you again. A simple person, simple lady, but very determined. I hail from a family of Sint Maarten. Both my parents were born in Sint Maarten, French side and Dutch side. Come from a family of 9. I just mentioned that we regretfully lost one of our brothers, Germito. 6 brothers and 3 girls. So I was formed, in a really nice but competitive environment, working, playing, and growing up with your brothers and sisters. Went to school, studied, and lived.
You went to school in Sint Maarten?
No, in Curaçao.
In Curaçao.
In the early 60s and 70s, our Sint Maarten parents from many of us went to Aruba and Curaçao. Yes. We were part of the then Netherlands Antilles. That's a little bit of constitutional history that some people tend to forget. So we were born in part of the country, Netherlands Antilles, where some of our parents went to work for in the oil company, Shell and Lago, Curaçao and Aruba. So I attended high school there, Peter Stuyvesant College, and from there went to the Netherlands to study. Yes,
Gracita, you have a university degree.
Yes, sir.
What is a study you did?
I did political science, so I have my master's in political science.
Oh, that's nice.
And a major in public administration. Yeah.
That is what we need here on the island.
Yes, we
do. That
do.
knowledge we need here on the island. Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, Gracita, of course, I know, but I think we have to say it for the listeners. We know that you have done a lot with your background with public administration.
Right.
And you have been also, in the beginning, a president of parliament for country Sint Maarten. That's a very honorable position to have to serve your country. And the reason that you got there is because you have always been a person that envisioned the best for country Sint Maarten. Gracita, give me honestly out of your heart, where do you think our country is standing now? And what is Gracita Arrindell envisioning for her beloved Sint Maarten in the nearby future?
Our country now. When I started out early in the interview, I said that we have to look back just briefly in 2022.
Yes.
And what I feel, what I experience, what I hear from our citizens, and I share that concern, is the loss of the quality of life of Sint Maarten, the loss of confidence in our country, the chaos, the tipping point that we have reached at actually quite a while already, and you could see it spilling over in our society. So for me, that having worked in the public administration sphere for 28 years, and as you mentioned, being the first president of parliament, organizing the first referendum actually on Sint Maarten as well, where you sound, you get the feeling of the people where you want to go. And right now, on an individual basis, you get that sound, that feedback from our citizens that they're not happy with the direction that the country is heading into. And this is a moment with the new year 2023, not only to reflect back, but to take stock and see how we could get back on the path. So my vision for Sint Maarten, I think I share this with many, many persons, is to increase the quality of life of our citizens again, and give respect to our pensioners, because they have been there. That is part of the looking back. But they are still here. They have contributed. And looking at the next generation, which is our children, we need to make sure that our children have persons that they could live up to. But more so, we have to make sure that our kids have the educational changes that they have to receive, but that is up to us, again, to provide it to our kids. So bringing faith back in 2023, bringing back credibility to Sint Maarten, bringing back stability to Sint Maarten, and making sure that we have that quality of life that we all deserve in this country.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, we all have to get back on track and be reading from the same page. And right now, that is not the case. We are all over the place.
We are lost.
We are lost.
We are lost.
Lost.
I agree with you too, Gracita. That is the reason, actually, also, that I decided as a professional in this country that things should go in a different way. And that is, for example, the reason that I started this URSM, this Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement. The word says it all. There must be unification, because without unification, you are not strong enough to change your country. You know, Gracita, you said something very interesting in the beginning. We are now in a state that we lost the quality of life in this country. But the quality of life actually is very, very closely related to actually poverty also in this country. There is a enormous poverty controlling this country at this particular moment. And I think that we should spend more attention to combating this poverty for the future. Everybody knows that healthcare is my baby. But if I get the mandate of the people with the URSM and we are in government, what I strongly believe will happen, the other baby that I have is, of course, the combating of poverty. And there are different ways to combat poverty. One of them is, of course, to increase the minimum wage, to make sure that you create a social welfare formula that benefits the less fortunate in your community.
Correct.
But there is another one also, is, for example, increasing the old age pension, because just now you said also that you have to think on the elderly that were actually the
backbone.
They were the backbone of the community that we have today. And what we also forget is important to say is that we have to work on our education system. And what is concerning me, what is bothering me is that at this particular moment, having a country status, we actually never defined what type of education we want for country Sint Maarten. But I can tell you from the URSM, there is a committee of education that is defining what type of education will suit this community. And recently I even presented to the candidates our vision about how we would like to see the education custom-made for country Sint Maarten. A other thing that I see in this community, Gracita, that I'm very worried about is that we are losing morals and principles in this country, our ways of approaching each other, our ways of talking with each other. I see that we have like a loss of decorum, we say, that people at a certain moment, they don't care anymore. The community became so hopeless that we are now in a phase that if we do not do something with that, we will get a very shaky community without a stable factor in it for us to build further on. Gracita, give me some incentives about what you think practically that we should do, work, take decision on a short term to help this country.
Okay. First, we need to change the mindset and the narrative.
Yes.
We need to know first where we're going and what we want to do. And with that mindset, Dr. Marcelina, I mean, we need to move away from, oh, we can't, it's impossible, it's lost. I don't subscribe to that, because if we do that, it means that you give up hope. You give up that your vision and my vision and collectively our vision of wanting to move Sint Maarten forward won't have any fertile ground to grow so that we can execute those visions, those ideas and projects that is good to increase the quality of life of our citizens. So that's the first thing. It's 2023. Let us be stronger in our mindset. And indeed, I agree with you so much in terms of the loss of morality, the loss of common decency towards each other. Even if you have a different opinion on a subject matter, different doesn't mean that it is bad or that it is worse. It only means difference. And we need to go back to learn to sit at the table and discuss these issues and see where we could find a common ground to improve the quality of life of our kids. And one of the things that I see every day that bothers me and bothers so many persons, we attract tourists to our island when we speak about decency and common courtesy to each other. And there's something that I notice on the roads. People are so like they don't care anymore, that do not respect us, respect this island, respect what it has given to not only those who are born here, but those who are born to be here.
Yes.
Even persons who decided to choose Sint Maarten for a reason.
For their home.
Indecent exposure, Dr. Marcelina.
Yeah.
It is just mind-boggling how people who are in the public sector, a private sector, they pull, for example, the buses on the side of the road with persons in it, with passengers.
Incredible.
And they do their thing on the side of the road.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
but
crazy.
you know...
it starts with these simple things.
Yes.
If you don't respect yourself, you don't respect the country, you would never, ever put it in your mind to even get out and do something like that. But it starts with the little things. It starts with the small things.
Yeah, but you know, Gracita, as you said, it's a mindset. We have to change the mindset of our people, but it has also to do with leading by example.
Absolutely.
And we lost a great dimension of that with our representatives in government, that we are not leading anymore by example. And there is a third factor too that I believe that contributes to this, is
Respect
that we
for authority.
Respect for authority, but you can at a certain moment demand the respect too if you lead by example, and that is not happening at this particular moment. And what we see also is a lack of vision for the direction that we have to head with this country. And what you see nowadays is that our people, we are lost. We have a government that is very pragmatic, is just taking decisions from one day to the other. But the bigger context with answering the question, where do we want to be with this country in 5 to 10 years, 20 years from now, you will see that there is no long-term vision to guide this country in decision-making in a way that at the end of the day we're going to reach where we have to reach. Gracita, I'm sure, knowing the fact that you have been President of Parliament, actually the first, if I'm not mistaken, that was a big challenge because it was something new. It was a new constitution. It was completely different, organized for country Sint Maarten, and we were not accustomed to that. So all of a sudden, from one day to the other, being 10, all of a sudden, we had a parliament to represent our people.
Right there in Sint Maarten.
And right there in Sint Maarten, in Curaçao, and that we had the parliament of the Netherlands Antilles. Now all of a sudden we are standing with a parliament for country Sint Maarten. Gracita, do you see a big difference in the time that you started as a president of parliament with how parliament used to function compared to what it is today for country Sint Maarten?
Huge difference is respect for the people in the House of Parliament. And with that I mean, since the meetings are held, they are public meetings, so everyone sees it. The kids see it because of the internet. The rest of the world sees how our representatives are conducting themselves when they have to deal with the issues of the people. So a huge difference is the tolerance towards each other, the respect towards each other, respect in addressing each other in Parliament, respect in dealing with the people's business. When you come into Parliament, you just don't only sign in and then you leave. I mean, when you look at the pictures, members of Parliament are sitting there eating, they're holding a totally different meeting, a simultaneous meeting on their own in the back. But you can see it. You can see it. So the respect towards the people that you ought to represent is lost. From the chairs of Parliament, we've had how many? About 6 or 7 presidents of Parliament since then, since 2010. And the how would I say that? Gaining and keeping your composure is one of the things that I've learned as the first president of Parliament. You are there to conduct the meetings in an ordinary way. And yes, sometimes, there's something that's funny, so, you laugh a little bit. But your task is to allow the persons who sign in to speak. Your task is to keep the order. Your task is to be above the rest in terms of maintaining that order. There's a Latin term that means primus inter pares, meaning you are the first among equals. So the president of Parliament is not more or less, but he or she is the first, and he or she has to lead by example.
Yep.
It's not about the person, Dr. Marcelina, it's about knowing that you are representing the office. So, and what you bring to that chair reflects on all of us as a community. So the huge difference is keeping your composure, maintaining that orderly presentation, giving respect to the House of Parliament, that once you go in there and those cameras are on you, you're not there for yourself. You came there because people voted you into that position.
Of course. Sometimes we forget for why we are sitting there, Gracita.
It's amazing.
And I think we have to readjust our mindset as politicians, that once we get the mandate to deal with the business of the people, for us to realize that it's about the people and the country, instead of making that momentum a momentum for the show,
for personality reason,
for personal reason, for popularity issues, instead of really doing what has to be done for the progress of the people of the country. And that is also what is disappointing me if I observe the conduct and the behavior and the productivity of Parliament nowadays. If you look back, for example, in the last 3-4 months, the amount of agenda points that have been treated, they were all about personal issues that had to be cleared. For example, new president of Parliament or not, are we going to replace this one or not, who will become the next president of Parliament. A lot of internal issues that actually in efficiency has nothing to do with the country. And that is unfortunate, but that is what we have now. Hopefully, I think, Gracita, that the people are waking up in this country, because you can go so far with somebody, but you reach a moment that they realize that we cannot continue seriously with this country if we stay on this foot, how we are doing it now. So actually, I hope that the people are waking up, and I feel it, that we are looking forward for the next elections, because I really think that people are awake now. They realize that if we do not make a significant change for the country, we are going to lose our country.
And that we cannot let happen.
We cannot permit that to happen.
That's a no-no.
Gracita, I realize that time is running on us. I'm just putting a question here, but I'm going to give follow-up to it after our break. Gracita, you are a very passionate person. You are very committed to your country. You're very ambitious for your country. Do you have still the ambition to run in the upcoming parliamentary elections? I'm going to go for a small break. I'm going to leave Gracita think about my question without mentioning name of political parties, but I want her to give the people of Sint Maarten an idea of Gracita can be expected again in the political arena to give new breeze and hope to country Sint Maarten. Listeners, I will take a small break and I will be back in a few minutes. Dear people of Sint Maarten, welcome to the second half of our radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. As I mentioned in the beginning of our program today, we have today with us Mrs. Gracita Arrindell as an invitee. Mrs. Gracita Arrindell, if you know your history of your country, she has been the first president of Parliament for country Sint Maarten. And because I have great respect for her and because of her very professional way that she managed to get things done for country Sint Maarten, I decided as the leader of the URSM to invite also Gracita Arrindell as a guest in my radio program. At the end of the first half of our radio program, I had a question posed to Gracita, in which I asked Gracita, where are you standing today with your drive still to be part of the political arena of Sint Maarten? And are you ambitioning to contest the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten?
Yes, sir.
That's a good question, right?
A very, very good one. One that I think a lot of people kind of expected to hear from me after, well, at least a year, even though I have been, in the public eye, but at a lower profile in the past year, especially for very personal reasons that I touched upon earlier during our interview this evening. I never left. The passion for Sint Maarten, the passion for doing the writing, the passion for making my contribution towards improving the quality of life of our citizens has always been there, never left. I've had 28 years of experience in working into public office, elected and appointed. And indeed, being the first president of Parliament gave me the opportunity to sit on that chair and pass laws together with my colleagues, because that's the thing, together with my colleagues. But you had to give the leadership to get those agendas on the docket and get the support of your colleagues, my colleagues at the time, to sign in and conclude those meetings in order to pass those laws. So that first parliament was a very contentious one, but we produced. We have to remember, Dr. Marcelina, that one of the things that first parliament did was pass the majority of all the old Antillean laws within a certain period of time. Had we not done that, then the new parliament after that would have had to sit every single day to go through the entire process of the subcommittees, then the central committee, then the open public meetings to debate and then ultimately pass all of those laws. It would have been a Herculean task. Yeah. So by being disciplined as President of Parliament and working together with my colleagues, oh my God, that working required certain skills that I had to learn as we went along to get your colleagues to sign in and also to support the laws that we passed. I would like to continue to present and give and share, working together again for the improvement of the quality of life of our citizens. And the only way to do that is to get on a list. You can be asked, but there's a certain, in my view, nobility and humbleness in asking people for their support, for their vote, for their trust, given your ability, given your skills, given the quality that you can give once in office, whether it's appointed or elected, to make sure to carry out the agenda of the people. And Dr. Marcelina, as leader of a new party, first of all, I commend you for stepping up and stepping into this arena, because people are yearning for a new direction, together with persons who are able, willing, and capable of moving this country forward. So I commend you tremendously for taking that step. It's not an easy step.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so there should be only one agenda only. That is what drives me. The agenda is Sint Maarten. Yeah. Is getting Sint Maarten back on track in a quality way, not quantity way, quality way with dignity, with integrity, and with results for the people of Sint Maarten. Results that the people could feel in the quality of their daily lives. And that is what we're lacking. That is where we've gone off track in the last couple of years. That hopefully, indeed, within short, we can get back on track in a firm way, so that the people can also feel. We can talk about a lot of issues in terms of vision, what we want, but short term, mid-term, and long term, but definitely short term, people have to get that sense of hope back.
Yeah.
That their agenda is first and foremost, and not personal agendas.
Yes, very good. Gracita, I think that you are making a lot of people very happy today by announcing that you are made up your mind. Actually, you didn't made it up, because you always knew that you love the political arena to contribute to your country. But by stating today that you will contest the upcoming parliamentary elections of Sint Maarten, that is going to give a lot of followers yours, a lot of fans, people that appreciate you, of course. Will give them hope again. As you said, there are a lot of hopeless people in our country at this particular moment. And by sending this message out that Gracita is back in the political arena.
Never left,
but she is back actively.
Actively, yes.
That is nice for a lot of people, especially your fans, your followers, and those people that really believe in you. And it's not only that they believe in you, you have proven also with your history being in Parliament that you especially had a big challenge from getting out of the constellation of the Netherlands Antilles to put everything now in a structure of a new country with an own constitution. And by approving, because there were a lot of laws that we took over, actually we copy-paste because of lack of time. We just had to copy-paste them and make them functional for the operation of our own country, of course. And that is a big challenge, and I have to give you credit and appreciation for the work that you have done, especially to put country Sint Maarten as of the beginning on track. So for the ones that followed you could continue doing the good work that you did initially. Gracita, you are planning and you're contemplating your coming back in the political arena. You have to think about in what structure, in what form, and how you're going to do that. But I think that will be soon be known to the public. Once you are with a political party, knowing your knowledge and your familiarity with this community, with your people, what will be, as you said, the first things that you're going to do? For example, you spoke just now about improving the individual quality of the citizens of this country. Are there other things that you're thinking on that you think these are things that I really would like to make work out of it, especially since the beginning of my tenure, once I'm in government, even in whatever position as a member of parliament, in the execution? Are they things that you think these are things that I have at heart that I would really want to speed up to try to solve for country Sint Maarten? Yes.
Well, it's a three-prong answer. But the first is our elderly, the pensioners. We really need to invest back into the quality of life of our pensioners. We need to put our system in place that our pensioners don't feel like second-class citizens. You know, they were first, they have contributed to the building of this island. We need to give them that respect back by showing them that we can give them that respect wherever they go, whether it is in the banks, whether it is at the medical center, whether it's on the roads, whether it's in the senior citizens' homes. We need to ensure that and definitely increase the pension, that they can really live from that. That is one, focusing on the past, meaning the pensioners. Secondly, we as citizens and people overall in general, we have the phone, internet, so everything is instant, and we want to see results. And being on the road a lot myself, meaning driving, we have to fix our infrastructure, Doc. That is something that people feel immediately from the minute they leave their home. They see the lack of maintenance in this country. So while we are working, for example, on laws and improving healthcare, improving pension, getting rid of cumbersome red tape for businesses, we need to focus on the short term. Short term is what people feel.
Yes.
And what people feel is getting on the road and they're going from one hole to the next. What people see is the derelict cars lined up on the side of the road still. It is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We have the double-deckers. We gave people the tours around the island. Like, what are they looking at?
Yes.
What are they looking at?
I feel shame. I feel the shame sometimes.
We need to deep clean Sint Maarten.
Maarten.
So that is something that you see immediately.
Yeah.
And, of course, improve the purchasing power of our people.
Yes.
The purchasing power, people
Buying
need to feel
power.
that the guilder or the dollar goes a long way. And how do you do that? By increasing, by food control.
For example.
And that's one of the examples.
And you know, Gracita, I really believe we have now a government, and I for sure, honestly, out of my heart, I do not have a clue what they're doing with this country. But for sure, they are now doing things that makes me feel that things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said it perfectly just now, we need tangible
Results.
developments and results now, because the people have been waiting too long to feel something, feel a change, experience a change. And as you said, I really believe that, and people say, yeah, but the parliament, it did not make much new laws, but I understand. But I always tell them we have a lot of laws for country Sint Maarten. It's now about executing. The execution is important now. For example, all those wrecks along the streets of Sint Maarten. I feel very bad to see all the tourists, and we just drive every day and we see that car every day again. But what does it take to remove that car, you know?
Oh my God.
And I do believe that we have to start now really making decisions to get to tangible changes for our country. And it all has to do with improving of the infrastructure of our country.
Which will create jobs as well.
Exactly. The second one is we have to combat this littering of our country. So we have to not only combat the littering behavior of our people, but we have to start cleaning up our island, because things are getting out of hand. And the third one also is we have to, one of the other way, organize our public transportation, because this is completely unorganized. And I understand there are a lot of drivers on the road, bus drivers. They all have a family to maintain, and we have to respect that. But I do believe there should be a formula that we're going to get a better regulation and organization of efficient public transportation for countries.
We are in the 21st century, and it's again going back to the infrastructure. I usually, when I ask the question, or when people approach and they ask, for example, the road going into Pelican, I just had it again, why it is so bad. And then the response is, oh, it's a private property. I'm like, okay, we need to increase that public-private partnership.
Yes.
We have to do that in order to increase and improve the level and the quality of our infrastructure.
Yes.
That PPP, meaning public-private partnership, need to be back on the front agenda of our policy making, because one cannot do it without the other. The private sector is moving along. They are like 10 speeds ahead. The public sector is lagging, and we need to sit at the table with the business community to get this country moving again.
Yes.
So indeed, that littering, the car wrecks all over, huge billboards, advertising drinks. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. And you know, it gave a lot of chaos as an impression when you drive here, because at some moment you get accustomed to it. That's the problem. You get no, but that is what's happening with our own people.
With mediocrity, we get accustomed to mediocrity.
Yes, and I think it's time for us to lift up the standard again in a way that we are going to also be competitive for the tourism industry that we
Absolutely.
dearly rely on to economically, financially to survive. And if we don't pay attention to those things in our country, as we said earlier in our interview, we're going to lose our country. So we really have to wake up and do what we have to do for our country.
Plant the roses. We can't even smell the roses anymore because they're disappearing.
Exactly.
They're disappearing.
And you know, Gracita, there are, and I always repeat that whenever I get the opportunity, there are 5 pillars that makes a community. Sometimes I extend it till 6 or 7 pillars. One is your healthcare, your hospital. It has to be at place. Secondly is your harbor. Thirdly, your airport. Fourth is your utility company, your education, and your justice. Because if you don't have a safe country, safe society, you are nowhere with your country. So the URSM, for example, is working very hard to make sure that we're going to fortify those pillars, being education, healthcare, utility. Our GB is a big problem now, so we will have to reorganize our utility company in a way that is going to serve better our country.
Citizens, yeah.
And further, we have to think at our harbor, I said, utility, airport, hospital, justice. And education. And that is the priority list of the URSM, in combination, of course, with a keen attention for the combating of poverty, because poverty is not only killing the people of Sint Maarten, but it's nowadays even now challenging the morals of the people of this country.
Absolutely.
Thus, we have to shake up, wake up, and really, Gracita, I hope that the people are waking up now, because there is a new election hanging in the air, and the discussion is November or January 2024. I hope it will be even earlier than November 2023, because the more we wait, the more we're going to lose of our country, and that's why I'm looking forward to a new election as early as possible. Gracita, it was very interesting to have you here as an invitee in our radio program. I really, really want to thank you for the time that you took out to be with us today in our radio program. You are Sint Maarten.
We are Sint Maarten.
And we are Sint Maarten, and we are all Sint Maarten. I'm looking forward to see you back, as you said, in the political arena of Sint Maarten. But before we close off, Gracita, I would like to give you the floor for a few closing remarks before we say goodbye to the listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Marcelina. Thank you, radio listeners. It has been a pleasure to converse with you, Dr. Marcelina, in regards to the challenges that we face, but also the opportunities that we have to make things better again. I have always been a very positive person. I never gave up, always very determined. And I would, with the grace of God, would like to continue serving this island with a group of like-minded persons who have one agenda and one agenda only, and that is the agenda to make Sint Maarten beautiful again in all its aspects at all levels. And it starts with, if it's their parliamentary elections, it starts with the dignity of the office, bringing that back, bringing decency back to the office, and consistency in terms of what we want to do with this island. Looking towards the youth, the future. We have so many kids, again, studying abroad in the Netherlands. And you know, Dr. Marcelina, we have the opportunity to vote for the municipality elections. In the Netherlands, we have the chance to vote for European Parliament elections right here in Sint Maarten. And I think we should use the same infrastructure. Hopefully we get a chance to talk about the
next time.
The next time, the relationship between Sint Maarten and the Netherlands.
Yep.
But in terms of the practicality of it, we should use the same corridors that are available for persons to vote who are living in Sint Maarten and the former Antilles who vote in the Dutch elections and the European elections. Use those same infrastructure, the same corridor for our students who are the future of St. Maarten to be able to vote
from
The Hague or from the Netherlands, so the different spots where that's possible, in the local elections. It is their future, and I think that's one of the things that we should work on. I know it's possible because we discussed this before, not you and I, but in general. So give the youth a say in their future, and that's one of the issues that I think we should place on the agenda.
Gracita, you're full of great intention and great ideas. Once more, nice closing remarks from your side. I would like to thank you to be with us today in our radio program. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you also for being with us in this radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. I'm looking forward to have you back next week Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7. Wishing you a pleasant evening.
Thank you.